Okay, great, thanks. Okay, hi, I'm Vivian Shimoyama, and I'm going to be your moderator today. We have with the Long Beach Center for Economic Inclusion, a webinar series that we're putting on for small business owners that want to grow their businesses. Most specifically, what we're doing is working with businesses in the areas of marketing and sales, social media marketing today. We've done some other webinars on growth in your business, the foundation of growth, and also our last webinar will be on sales. And all of the webinars are posted on our website for the Long Beach Center for Economic Inclusion. So a little bit about this Long Beach Center for Economic Inclusion. We're an organization that really is here to assist entrepreneurs. We work in the area of Long Beach, but as you can see, there are no boundaries with everyone being online. So we want to make sure that we have resources to support growth of small businesses. And once a year, what we do is we also have a CEO forum, and we also have business navigators that help businesses navigate working with our city. So if any of you need assistance in any of those other areas, then you please let us know, and we will put you in touch with our business navigator team, as well as make sure that you get connected with other resources. Okay, let me start by introducing our topic for today. It's going to be tools and systems for a positive return on investment for your social media. As many of you know, there's so many areas of social media, and I want to welcome Lori Anding with South Bay Social Media. She has been working in the area for many years, as we were discussing a little bit earlier, and really has taken an approach where she shares information with people so that they can see that while there are many different places to be in social media, that it's a place to be authentic, to be comfortable. And also she's going to give you a lot of tips on how to go about selecting or what you could do and where you should be. So why don't I just share a little bit about the Q&A. Is if you have a question, please put it in the chat, or you can also put it in the Q&A. I'll be watching the chat, and I can pose those questions to Lori as she's talking, or we can answer the questions at the very end, okay? So just know that the webinar is about an hour in duration. Most of it is your Q&As at the end for the questions, okay? And then I'm going to turn this over to Lori. So Lori, please share more about your expertise in social media and how we can support our small businesses in their growth.
Thanks, Vivian. I'm happy to be here. I'm Lori Anding with South Bay Social Media. I help small businesses get more brand reach and set up strategies for them to grow their businesses through social media platforms. I've been doing this since 2013, and I made a transition through language translation into this, but we won't get into that part. But it's all communication, right? Language translation, social media. I have a degree in biology, so communication, I seem to gravitate towards communication. And online communication is one of my favorites because mainly one of the things about me personally is I'm very much an introvert. So I prefer not to be here in front of the camera to you. I would much rather be where you are on the other side. Because on social media, you can be anywhere and everywhere on a computer. And I have found that I found my voice on social media, truly. So I'm going to share with you some tools that I use with clients that I currently have or have had in the past that's helped them. And they've done this through a positive return on investment through their social media investment, not just in marketing, but in social media marketing. So I can take the next slide. So one thing we talked about in the first webinar, I wasn't there, but they talked about in terms of your mission and vision about your business, you really need to know your business. Not only do you need to know your business for marketing and all the other functions that you have in your business, but also very much for social media. You need to know your why. And so what I really want this slide to be is something for you to take some time. I think a lot of us get so busy working in our businesses and not on our businesses that we forget to come back into certain aspects of it and take another look, because those new perspectives is how you can really kind of boost your your mission, boost your vision, boost where you're going. So how do you want the world to know your business? I just want you to think about that. Why purchase from you and not your competitor? You know, what makes you unique? We learn things from so many different avenues, and through that learning, we take that in and process it. And yes, we have some aspects about our businesses that are very much about maybe a mentor or someone we learn from them. We go, oh, I really like that. It really resonates with me, and this is how I'm going to put that out in the world for my own business. But when you do put that out in your own business, it's unique to you. I just want you to remember that, because how you put yourself out there and how people see you is your unique value proposition. Do you support charities? Because you can talk about that kind of thing in social media as well. How would you describe your company culture? Also a very big part of how some of the things that you can use to incorporate when you post content. Are you involved in your community, your local community? Can you describe your company's personality? I've given this review to a couple small business owners, CEOs of businesses, male usually, and they're like, personality? I would never even think of my business with a personality. But your personality is what comes out when you post things on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Whether you like it or not, your personality is there. So it helps to ask a trusted customer. You know, if you have a hard time thinking about these things and nothing comes to mind, or you just aren't getting a lot of information, ask why did they do business with you? Why do you buy from me? And a lot of times those people give you information that helps you define that for yourself. The better you know your business, the easier it is to share in your content. So the main goal is to get your followers to know, like, and trust you. Ultimately, that's what you want. If they know, like, and trust you, they're going to want to do business with you. Okay, I'll take the next slide. So not only do you need to know your business, but you need to know your customer, of course. Being able to clearly define your ideal customer helps in narrowing down the right content that you share. One of the reasons you need this clarity is so you know where to fish, right? And meaning, you know, you want to fish where your people are, where the fish are. And I always say pick one or two, especially with small businesses. You know, this is really geared towards people who are wearing a lot of hats. They're wearing the accounting hat, they're wearing the sales hat. They may be a solopreneur or maybe not have a lot of employees. So you really need to be strategic in where you decide to run your social media. Can you manage consistently producing content for 6 months? 6 months, 3 months, 8 months, you pick the number. But if you really honestly can't manage to do that, then it's really not worth. Consistency is really where it's at. The more consistent you are on platforms, and most likely you're all somewhere on social media. And if you just take some reflection and look back, maybe you're on Facebook, but when was the last time you posted there? That nothing happened. So if you're not consistent, you're not going to get that boost. There's a lot of energy that goes behind that consistent posting. Do you have time to properly engage? Not only do you want to post, but you want to engage with those people. That's what creates conversation, that creates people asking questions and you being able to answer those questions. So you want to know what your customers' hopes, dreams, fears, pain points are, because those are the items you want to address. Every time you post, you need to be sure you're addressing the needs of your customer. So I really like, before you hit go, think about it. Is this educational? Is this entertaining? Is it inspiring? Am I telling a story? Is my story compelling? If my story sounds really boring to me, guess what? It's going to sound boring to them too. Asking questions is a fabulous way to do market research with your customer, but also to get them to respond to certain things you may want to do. Maybe you're not sure what avenue to go down. Should I buy this line of clothing or that line of clothing. The more you know what if you ask your customers and they give you the answers, those are the people who are spending the money in your store. So it's a really good way to just generate a lot of conversation as well as hone your craft. Yeah, I'll take the next slide. Choose your platform, please choose it carefully. I think a lot of people probably would say once they've done some research, you know, hey, my people are on 3 or 4 platforms. I really don't want you to stretch with 3 or 4 platforms unless you have a team that can run your social media for you, because that is a lot to do. The other thing I would say is pick what fits best for you. First, you have to make sure you're fishing where your people are. Absolutely, hands down. But don't go fishing somewhere where, if you don't like making video, your product is for teens and tweens. You don't like making video, you're never going to do it. So don't do something that you're not going to do, because it's just a waste of time. If it's easier for you to do, the more likely you're going to do it. And the more you like it, the more you're going to go back and do it. The more you're going to feel like, hey, I'm getting some traction. I want to go there again. I want to practice this. Again, I'm going to go back to what I said last week, because I keep talking about as if you are the one who's doing it. But this is also if you have designated this to someone, delegated this to someone to do. Same thing goes for that person. If they are excited about doing it, they're going to want to go back and do it. So if your business is visual, definitely Instagram and Pinterest are the #1 places to be. Again, if you're catering to teens and tweens, TikTok, Snapchat for sure. Service businesses, LinkedIn, hands down. LinkedIn has changed a lot over the years, and they really create a lot of community, and it's a really good place to grow your business on LinkedIn. Local business, Facebook, I would say Instagram as well, because you can really localize where you do your ads, and you can also geotag things in Instagram, Facebook, and Instagram and Facebook, and yeah, right. Nonprofits, LinkedIn is great, Instagram is great if it's a visual nonprofit. Food industry, Instagram, you got to make sure you're up on your Yelp for food industries as well. Facebook is also good for the food industry. I would go there. Take the next slide. So strategy and planning. I would say include your social media in your yearly planning. What are we just happy fall. We just hit the last, or almost the last season of the year. All right, yeah, anyways. But we're in the last quarter. So put your social media in with all of your other planning. If you have a marketing strategy, it should be meshed with marketing and social media. How can your social complement your goals? There's a lot of ways you can use social to enhance and leverage your goals you have. So make sure that that's part of your planning. I also would recommend doing monthly planning and creating a content calendar. And you can do that in your year as well. You know, what happens in January, what happens in June, what happens in September. Jot those things down, and then you want to go back. That's why you do the monthly replan, because you want to go back there and add things. Oh yeah, I need to do this. Oh, we need to make a video for this. We need a photo shoot for this. I would also say it's important to check daily on your social media. One thing I think businesses that I see that don't do a very good job on social media, that I can tell they don't have a team working their social media accounts, is they don't answer. People ask questions, people comment, and there's nothing for days. And most people expect an answer within 24 to 48 hours. They expect social media to be instant. They want to be heard. And if you're not hearing them, your competitor will hear them, because they'll go shopping somewhere else and they'll find someone who, oh, they're much more active. They answer my questions. They'll shop over there. The more active your accounts are, the more you need to allocate time for that. And I'd also say that if you have a marketing campaign or a social media campaign that you're working on, you really need to make sure you block out time to manage that social media, because you don't want to miss that opportunity. You're gaining a lot of traction. You've got this engagement. Your community is really active. You want to make sure you catch all those balls. I'll take the next slide. So tools to improve social media. There are so many. There's no way I could go into all the different kinds of tools. Plus, I would like to mention that these are tools that I've used and that I've liked. I'm a different person than you are. You really need to do your own research, or whoever is doing your social media. What is easy for them? Again, I want to go back to it. Just, you want to, pick the fruit, the easy fruit that you can pick from the tree, right? So Canva is super easy. It's easy, it's quick, and it's good quality. Highly suggest Canva. You can get that. You can use it for free, or you can use a paid version. Both are worth using. Answer the Public is a very cool place that it's a keyword tool. It's called answerthepublic.com. And if you're struggling, because one thing you want to do with social media is you want to have content. You want to write blogs, maybe. Do you want to write short form? Do you want to write long term? That can help generate those ideas that you need to write. Again, back to, do you have 6 months of content? You need to start working on your spreadsheet and making notes like, oh, I can write about this, and next week I can write about that. So you have a running list of the short form blog posts you want to write about, or long form, or even content. That tool is super helpful for that. Unsplash, there's a bazillion free professional photo apps for sure, but Unsplash I find is very helpful. You can put them in categories. I had a category for this presentation, and you can do for holidays, days of the year. That's also a really fun, easy way to create content. There's a day of the year for everything, and you should know what your days of the year are for your business. Me personally, I love coffee. So International Coffee Day is October 2nd, I think. It's coming up. So, and then you can make you can separate and actually put your photos in there that you like for that. So it's free, professional, beautiful photos that you can use in case you don't have a lot of your own photos to use for your content. Because you also don't want to use the same photos for Facebook as you're using for Instagram, that you're using for Pinterest, because it just, oh, I already saw that, and that, I don't even have to read this. I don't need to see it. You want to change things up, compel people to open, to be able to read more. Adobe Spark and Wave are great video creation apps. And then just the analytics on every platform, they're pretty robust. So you want to check those and use those to identify, gosh, over the last month, what's done well, what hasn't done well. What hasn't done well, put it away. What has done well, do more of that. Tools to save time, Buffer for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest. Hootsuite does the same. Just pick what works best for you. I love Buffer as a company. They're very transparent. They write great blog posts on all the different platforms. But truly, Buffer isn't, I don't know. For me, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work with my brain. Hootsuite always was easy for me to do, so I use Hootsuite. I know people who use Buffer and have always used Buffer. So it's really up to you. Tailwind for Pinterest is a great app. And then Facebook Business Suite is perfect for scheduling Instagram and Facebook stories and Instagram stories. Very helpful. So tools are helpful, but don't use them as a crutch. Please, please, please. It seems like we have a tendency to go all or nothing. And so people figure out, oh, I have these tools, and then they just go all in on the tools. And you look at their social feeds, and it just seems like a robot put this stuff in. So it's really nice to be on there. Nothing engages with people better than in real life, meaning you're engaging with them in the moment. It also creates conversation. You might answer somebody, you post something and someone responds to that, and then you respond right there. They're still on that app, you're on the app, and you can create a whole conversation. So you don't want to miss those opportunities by just using tools. I think people use it as a crutch, and I don't think that's all that helpful. All right, so content. Always focus on value. Value with a big V. Use call to actions, use high quality photos. Again, if you don't have them, you can buy them, and you can also use the free apps. I am going to digress a little bit on quality photos because my daughter helped me put this slideshow together. So anybody who saw last week might notice that this is a little bit elevated. So thank you to Rachel who helped me here. But what was interesting is when she was putting this together, I said, oh, I have Unsplash open and here are some photos that you could use, or you could search and find ones if you don't like what I put in there. You can find some that you think are more appropriate. And she says, oh, why can't I just grab them from Google? And I'm like, well, first of all, a lot of people who have these on Google are using photos that are on all these social apps, usually are just screenshotting them and using them. Photos, that is someone's livelihood. So we're all small business owners. We need to make money. Photographers need to make money. So you're really stealing from a photographer. And I only say that like that is because I did work with a photographer who seriously slapped me on the hand and said, are you trying to get sued? Why are you using these pictures? You're not getting permission before you use them. And I'm like, well, it's user generated content, UGC, and it's helpful. I always thought, boy, if I'm using this for this client and it's helping the photographer because they're getting exposure, and the person's like, maybe they don't want exposure. You got to give them that choice. Maybe they don't want the exposure. They'd rather get paid for the photo. So that really sunk in. And I just want to make sure that when you see photos on social media, you need to make sure you know who took those photos and ask permission to use those photos or use the free apps.
Lori, I just wanted to add is thanks for mentioning it to everyone because, I was working with a client and we use Unsplash because many of the photographers that are there, they want, their photos to be seen, and then we give them recognition.
Nice.
By putting their name next to it.
Right.
So I do think that's another way for photographers also to have their work seen, and then people can approach them, just like you said, they're small business owners like everyone, all the rest of us. And so what we want to do is make sure that we're either promoting them, giving them recognition, or going to a site or a place where we know that the photographers have given permission to use their photos.
Exactly. And a lot of times they're willing, a lot of times I find that I work a lot on Instagram and photographers will say, well, I'm okay with you reposting, because we see that all the time. And again, people repost on Instagram and they don't ask permission. They use an app that reposts. And so you really need to make sure. I also know photographers who have a little blurb when they post. It says, no reposting without my permission. And I think that's really smart because that I think also gets people, they read that and go, oh, I wonder, is this person the only person who wants permission before you repost? So I've asked and they've often said, hey, on Instagram, you can repost this. If you're going to use it for anything else, I'd prefer that you buy the pictures from me. So it's good. So back to content, asking questions, use polls. Instagram has all kinds of stickers on their stories, which kind of can get you thinking about, oh, I could do a quiz on Facebook. I could do a quiz on Twitter. Twitter has polls. People use them all the time to get information, to get their people to engage with them. Tag people in a conversation. I say only when relevant, because if you just randomly tag people, it is very annoying. I get people who tag me, they don't follow me, they tag me into a conversation. I have nothing to do with the conversation. Why'd you tag me? Because I work in social media and you want me to say something. That is irrelevant. Don't do that. But sometimes you'll have a photo where you have maybe a drink that's manufactured by, I've done this a lot with beer, for instance, because there's National Beer Day, there's International Beer Day, and we'll have a picture of a specific beer in the picture. So I tag the company that made the beer, and often they'll interact. They'll say, yeah, of course, drink our beer on International Beer Day. So it'll generate conversation. If you have pictures with multiple people in it, tag those people in it, then they get to say, oh yeah, that event was so fun. I was so happy to meet you. It creates conversation, and that's what you really want to do with social media. You know, you got to kind of think about it as if you're having these people in your home. You know, what would you do? How would you be the hostess with the mostest, the host with the most? Treat those people online like you would if they were coming to your home. Tell a story. People love stories. Share the behind the scenes. Oh my gosh, I find behind the scenes are probably one of the most interesting ways to get people involved. Sometimes those behind the scenes for some businesses are really dirty and messy, and they love it. They loved that the curtains are being pulled back and they get to look around the corner and see what's happening. And then they ask questions like, well, I didn't know that's how you made the product. So what is that made out of? And how do you get that? I mean, and they come up with the most interesting questions. I think I'm prepared for the questions that are generated. And sometimes I'm like, I have no idea. I do not know the answer, and I did not anticipate that question. So that's very helpful. People want to do business with people. They don't want to do business with logos, so or locos. Anyways, according to the study by Georgia Tech and Yahoo Labs, long time ago, they looked at 1.1 million photos, and they found that people in photos were 38% more liked than others. I only say this because I say this to remind myself, because I hate to be in pictures. If you look at my Instagram account, I rarely have pictures of myself because I don't want to be there. But they do better. I don't know. It's a human thing that people comment on pictures. They can just go blowing past your coffee and your notepad, but when they see you, they're like, oh God, I gotta like it and I gotta say something. So don't forget to put your face in there. And if it's not you, you have lots of people who work there. Get the employees that want to be in front of the camera. It works too. And then I don't have any data on this, but animals probably are way up there on the list of engagement as well. So if you have a shop dog, or you have a cat that sits on your lap now that you're working at home, share that. That's how wow, you're a cat person. I love that. And then the more I found out about you, the more I like you. I want to do business with you. And then I was going to remind you, especially if some people didn't go to the last webinar, I spoke about the Ignite Video Challenge. So it's a 4-week challenge where they give you, I think it's 17 prompts. So you only do it during the week. You get weekends to make it up. The prompts are super easy. It's cheap, $25 for this whole 4-week challenge. And what it does is it gets you more comfortable in front of the camera. It got me more comfortable in front of the camera. That's an affiliate link of my friend Christy, who happens to be on here. So thank you, Christy, for being here, and thank you for sharing your link. I really got a lot out of it, so it's worth it to me if you're not the one who's going to be doing social media and need to be in front of the camera, and you have delegated this to another employee, or you hired someone, it's a great way to get them comfortable. So I highly recommend it. So length of content. I mean, as you can see, it's really hard to be concise in something like this, because not only are we talking about multiple platforms, but now we're talking about length of content. Could talk forever on short form content versus long form content, but it's worth touching on, because what you really want to do is, as you're sitting down and planning, am I a big writer? Can I write, a long form blog post? Do I have time to write a long form blog post? No, then no, don't even attempt it. Don't waste your time. But you could be working on your plan for the year and say, I could really educate my customer base if I had someone who could write long form content. I have all these ideas. Hire it out. There are people who are copywriters who can bust this stuff out. They're very good at it. So long form, and another reason you would like long form content is because it typically ranks better for SEOs. REI is not only is REI great for visual pictures, right? People out with their animals in front of the camera, taking pictures in beautiful places. REI does that really, really well, but they also use long form content and blog posts, which help their SEO. They do very well on almost every platform in social media. Neil Patel, also very good at long form content. You could look him up. He's very good at educating his customer base as well. Short form, okay, I'm gonna pick Matthew Kobach. When I say short form, I'm talking 10 words, 5 words. He is on Twitter and he used to work for the New York Stock Exchange. And he's a marketing guru and he's fantastic and he is hysterical and he has done so well growing his base, working on the New York Stock Exchange using Twitter by just tweeting marketing, wisdom, life wisdom, funny wisdom, funny stuff. Anyways, really interesting how he's done that. And Seth Godin. I can actually even show you Seth Godin. I think this is his last book. Oh gosh, I'm using oh, there we go. A background. Oh, I should mention, this is one of my favorite coffee houses. I'm not there, it's just a background picture, but this is Marketing by Seth Godin. He's a great marketer. He also does short form content like nobody else. He sends out a newsletter every day. It is super short, about the length of the left column on my slideshow. And it's always concise and brilliant and amazing. So another person to follow if that's something that you're interested in, because he can kind of give you an idea of how you could perfect that for yourself.
Yeah, that's so, did want to add about Seth Godin is I have taken 2 of his classes. He has a community called Akimbo, and one of them is a podcast course. And then he also has a writing course too, if you want to write a book. And he's really done a great job of pulling together community to be supportive of you when you're going through his various programs. And he also is live on some of these sessions. So, another resource I do think for all of you, but I've found that, he really sends a great message about once you decide who your audience is and you're putting your content out there, you're putting your information out there, is, it could be an audience of one influencer, it could be an audience of many. So he really encourages people though to speak about what they want to communicate out there and not be so concerned about how many people are following them.
I heard this from someone, I think it was Brian Fanzo, he's everywhere on social media. And I think this helped me years ago. And he had said, when you're speaking and doing anything and you find that you helped one person, you should think of that as a success. So I think that's helped me in terms of overthinking and going, oh my gosh, is this going to reach out? Am I going to say the right things? Is this too rudimentary? Is this not, how, I have no idea who's going to be on this webinar. Do they already know social media? So he's always helped me with that. And I like that concept because it helps you just focus on getting it done instead of worrying about how people are going to receive. People are a creature of habit. So one thing, I don't like to be too redundant in social media, but using this habit type of thing that we know people have, they'll circle back around every Monday because you talk about, well, for instance, Sarah Blakely, owner of Spanx, every Monday she posts a mugshot Monday. She is super wise. I saw her live for the 10,000 Small Business program in DC once. And she always shares what she's learned. She's paving the way for anybody who's coming behind her. She shares so much information about mistakes that she has done, but she's super encouraging. So you really want to think of, when you're planning your content, do I have a bunch of mugs? Can I buy a bunch of mugs? How fun is that? or Wisdom Wednesday, Women Crush Wednesday. There's so many flashbacks and throwbacks that you can think of. Maybe you want to educate your followers on the history of your business. You know, how did you get here? Where did you come from? Because that also, by telling that story, talking about the past, you find like, oh, you know, I'm from that part of the world, you know, and then you're getting that connection. Tip Tuesday, that's also a great way to circle back around every week and get people to, oh yeah, I want to see what they're doing on this day. Does anybody have any questions so far before I go to the next slide?
I don't see a question, but I did want to point out, and Christy has put that in the chat. Is this link on here? The C in Christy is a lowercase, and when we post this, we'll make sure that we update that on the slide.
Okay.
She said it's case sensitive.
Oh, no. All right. Very good.
So that's one. And then the other thing is the last time when you did the webinar and you explained the Ignite video challenge, I decided, oh, I think I'm going to do this.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, I know. So when you put this on here again, I guess it's my reminder that I need.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay,
so.
I'm gonna, and about content, I can expand on that. I love that, Vivian. So maybe I'll join again and we can do it together.
Okay, that sounds.
And then yeah. So I'll hey Vivian, did you sign up? But the other thing about that, notice, okay, so I'm a big overthinker, and so I'll share another book. I think I talk about this later. I have a slide. But this is called Soundtracks by Jon Acuff. It's about overthinking. And he's a big overthinker. He did a lot of research about it and found, he always thought, oh, it's just me. No one else is an overthinker like me. The more he talked about this book as it was coming out, the more everybody, oh yeah, I do that. Oh yeah, I do that. I'm a huge overthinker. So part of me is saying, oh, I mentioned the Ignite video challenge last week. Do I want to mention it this week? Yeah, I think it's that important to say it again. Because someone might be going, oh yeah, that sounded interesting. And then, you know, you hear it again and like, that's interesting. Sometimes you got to hear things 5, 7 times before people will buy your product, want your service. Don't be afraid to be repetitive. Just change it up a little bit.
Okay, so in the chat, I was trying to see if we could unmute Christy, but I'm a volunteer moderator for the challenge. This is Christy in October. I'd love to play with you still. The challenge is so much fun and amazingly transformative. I hated video before I did it. Okay, well, this is good for me because I'm not big on video, but
yes,
if you like it a little bit more, maybe I can take the challenge.
I have to say, I hated video. I don't hate it as much. And that's why I think a lot of people do the challenge. Like when I did the challenge, there were people saying, oh, you need to do this and that. And I tell Christy, I'm like, someone asked me, because I was doing it on my phone. So I was doing it, and I'm big on Instagram. So I was doing all my things vertically. And this person's like, you really need to put it horizontal. And I felt like, so someone was coming and saying, shame on you, you weren't doing this. So what I found out from that was people do this over and over and over and get better and better and better.
Really?
So they already know a lot of the tips that she gives throughout the thing. So I'm a newbie on my second video, and they're already telling me I haven't heard that tip yet. I haven't got to step 10. So it was just kind of interesting. It is worth doing it more than once because, you know, for me, I need to keep getting reminded about, you know, face the camera, you know, it's connection, not perfection. That's a good one. That's a very good one.
So it sounds like there are great tips. Christy also is sharing with us that she hates watching it and creating it, but it's heart-centered and it makes it so much easier. And then they're short and sweet.
Oh yeah, that would be
2 minutes or less.
The overthinker here. If I had to like, oh, I need to make a 5-minute video and then I try to perfect that, I'd never get it done. I'd do it 10 times. I'd hate it. I'd look at it. I'd see, oh, I don't like the way my hair is. Ugh. The best part about it is that they're supposed to just one and done. Best way.
Okay, so it sounds like a good challenge,
Yeah.
something we may all want to consider, okay? And
Yeah, there we go.
we will correct that link in there,
Oh
okay?
yeah, thanks, Chrissy.
Okay,
I'm sorry I did that.
let me get you to your next slide.
All right, let's see. So we're going to talk about community building. Um, that's my favorite. That has been. I've worked in social media for several years, but really kind of moved into this mindset of I'm not trying to sell. Well, first of all, if I was supposed to be a salesperson, forget about it. I think the word sales, I don't respond well to that word. I work in social media, so I'm not trying to sell anything. Clearly, I am trying to sell something, but my mind does better if I work in social media and I create community. So I'll let the salespeople do the sale. I get them all buttered up, and then they like the company, they like the product, and then bam, the salesperson has an easier job. But community building is really where it's at. That's really how I have taken my best and biggest client that I've been working with since 2013. The trajectory of their growth has really increased because we have this community nurturing idea behind what we do. And someone had asked me, well, what is community building, or what's a social community? And I'm like, oh, that's a good question. So I came up with this answer. Social community is founded in relationship marketing and focuses on being social on social. Because on social, you don't meet a person in real life and say, bam, marry me. Same thing with your business on social. First time I've ever heard of your business, bam, buy my product, or go to Facebook and look at this video I did on Facebook. I mean, you get these DMs from people who don't understand social media at all, saying, oh, and if thanks for following me, and now go to my website and see all my products. No, I don't even know you. Ask me a question. First of all, ask me stuff in public. The more you can talk to me in public, that means you're not saying anything you wouldn't say in front of the whole world. I like that. So really focus on being social on social. It's also a long tail investment. I think what happens, at least, I mean, I did this, and I say this because I did this when I owned a translation company. I got on social media and I'm like, buy translation from us. I didn't know. No one educated me on what I was doing, and I just did what I thought I was supposed to be doing, and I did it all wrong. It's a long tail investment. It's getting to know your community, and so anyways, it's a long tail investment in social media marketing that gives companies a positive social return on investment through thoughtful and strategic engagement with your people to increase brand reach, loyalty, sales, and referral. Number one, brand reach. Number two, loyalty. Sales and referrals come as you do this. But what your goal should be is you want the community that can buy from you. You want them to know. And I know you're this is very Long Beach focused. So do the people of Long Beach know you exist? If they do not, you need share your location. That was one thing that your company, LBCEI, I noticed on Instagram said, hey, come to this webinar. And I just noticed when I looked back at the last couple of posts that they didn't put a geotag on their Instagram posts. Putting a geotag on your Instagram stories, on your Instagram posts, help funnel those people. They'll see it because it's located in Long Beach, and people from Long Beach, when they go to explore and they're looking and they're going to see things from Long Beach. It helps to attract the people you want to attract. I'll take the next slide. So what consists of community? I just want to make sure you think of community as very inclusive. It's not just your followers, and it does include your friends and family, because they're here to support you. Usually they're the first ones when you join any kind of social media platform. They're the first ones who follow you. So they're part of that. Of course, your employees, Stakeholders for bigger businesses like your board of directors or nonprofit, the people who are supporting your nonprofit and other supporters, they're all part of your community. And you need to be sure that everybody is involved and understands you're very clear on what your business is about. I have a friend who runs a sanctuary in Africa, and they constantly have a little blurb on their social media posts saying it's a sanctuary for chimpanzees. Those chimpanzees wouldn't be on their sanctuary if someone didn't kill these baby chimpanzees' mothers and steal them. So a lot of times you see these pictures of monkeys and different wild animals on social media and people like those. Well, when you like those pictures, you're supporting behavior around keeping an animal as a pet that should not be a pet. So they help educate their people by posting these disclaimers on there. So these stakeholders who care about these chimps now fully understand, wow, every single chimp I see on here, this baby chimp, this chimp that should be in the arms of their mother is in the arms of a human, just trying to get them, because a lot of them are sick, they rescue them from people who no longer want them as a pet, and then they just treat them like a prisoner, and it's awful. So they're trying to nurture these people, these chimps back into, nurture them back to health, and then put them in the sanctuary and get them to get back into being a chimp with other chimpanzees in the woods. I say this because it's important, because what happens is people share, like support this nonprofit. But if you're not understanding the nonprofit well, or you don't understand the company well, you're not sharing the right words and information about the company. So make sure you're educating everybody so they know. And it is also your job, when you see that people are inaccurately saying things, you need to make sure you correct that so that they do it. And a lot of people, they just don't know any better. Especially educate your employees, because you want the people who come to your community online, then they come to your actual physical place. And wow, boy, online I feel nurtured and I feel like you're super happy to see me and you talk to me and you answer my questions. But when I walk in the door, no one wants to help me and they're so busy, they're not friendly. You need to have that congruency online and offline. Same thing goes in the reverse. Hey, I come into your restaurant and everybody treats me great, but online, no one responds to anything I write. I ask a comment, I make a comment, I ask a question, and I don't get an answer to that. So you really want that congruency. It's important. It really helps expand your community. And the thing is that sometimes these bigger communities the employees just work at the community, they at the company, they don't even know a lot. If you work in marketing or social media in a bigger company, you really want everybody to share. They should be happy they work there, happy enough to share that on social media. That helps get the word out about your business. So just think about that as you move forward. A happy employee shares happiness on social media. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the pandemic because I think we learned from it. So, what did it teach us? It taught us that we're resilient. It also taught us that we're wired for community. And I noticed a lot of businesses, I did a live stream for a while and had a few small businesses on at the very onset of the pandemic. And one person who was a coffee, she produces coffee and has a coffee house. Her main source of income her goal that she was moving into was hospitality and hotels. And so at the beginning of that, man, that tanked. Her whole idea just crashed and burned. And I could tell when we interviewed her, I mean, she was just dejected and lacked hope, right? But this person persevered. Her resilience was amazing, and she pivoted, and she ended up just attacking all the different ways that you could get money. And she made sure she applied for everything. She got probably, of all the companies that I know that applied, she got the most money from from the most different kinds of programs. She was amazing, but she also got backing through some programs that people did to help small businesses during that time. And so she figured out how to create that community through online, because that was the only way we could do it. And she did a phenomenal job. So you could sit there and be dejected and say, oh, you know, God, this is hard. And it is hard and it can be awful. But the next day, you know, hey, start taking some note, like, how could I make something? How could I do this differently? Because this may not be our first pandemic. And then we're going to have something else that happens that might throw us off course. So there's always ways to do something differently. And it just really is, it is their passion and how they made changes really, really inspired me. So they shared their stories on social, the good, the bad, and the ugly. They shared the fact that I have to let go of my employees. So a lot of them came forward and said, you know, buy gift cards from us so that we'll have that money and we can donate the money to, you know, our dishwashers in a restaurant or something. Order takeout. You know, a lot of these businesses really did not have a difficult time working into the takeout type of restaurant business. But I do know some high-end restaurants that they couldn't do that. That wasn't, first of all, that wasn't the way they were set up. And then, you know, okay, we can't do this anymore. It was really hard. You know, not everybody just bounces back like that. But I noticed that one company, one restaurant in downtown LA was very high-end, closed completely. But then they sat there and they had to have sat there and brainstormed. I don't know them personally. But then they started getting their bartender to come in every Tuesday, again, you know, having something to circle back around. I want to see what the bartender is going to make on Tuesday. And he made some of the signature drinks for that restaurant. People showed up. He did this live on Instagram and Facebook. And it was amazing. And it really created community around the restaurant who was struggling. They also figured out how to do takeout on a more family, like a family package, where it was food for 4 or food for 5. What a brilliant way to do it. And it was, I mean, there were a lot of people who had money that could spend money on eating. I'm not talking about the people who aren't in that situation, but they figured out a way to get those people to spend money on their restaurant, even though they weren't open. It was amazing. They live streamed, they informed their communities. There was a coffee house in LA again, South LA Cafe, fantastic pivot. They sold coffee. I think they closed completely. Then they started opening a little bit. And then they said, hey, we can help our community, very community oriented. So they had community boxes that they were giving away. And so they would do live video showing, tomorrow we're gonna have, you know, a drive-through where you can get a box of food. And then Tender Greens, where they were giving away boxes of food, and they threw in a roll of toilet paper because everybody was desperate for toilet paper early on. Do the toilet paper hoarding. So what a fantastic, not only did they get a perishable box, but they got a useful thing, a roll of toilet paper. I guarantee you they sold out of those boxes right away. People were doing yoga online. Just some of the stuff, it really blew my mind at how well they pivoted. They made food for the people in need. You know, the healthcare workers that were starving, working 15-hour shifts, exhausted, no time to cook. That was also a great way for people to know, to me, this restaurant cares about people as well. I mean, that's where I want to go and spend my money. And they raised money for people who needed the help. All community driven, all community goodness. And all of that was done through online because we couldn't do it in real life.
I like those words, Lori, all community goodness. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so examples of community success. So I think Lolly Daskell is a leadership coach. She did a Twitter chat called Lead from Within for about 5 years. And and she wrote a book called The Leadership Gap. And she wanted her book, she wanted to become bestseller. Who doesn't want to be a best-selling author? It was her second book, and how was she going to do that? She wanted to do it organically. She didn't want to pay to have a firm do it. And so she came up with the idea to do 200 podcasts. That's a lot of podcasts. But the thing is that through this Twitter chat, she was a very well lead from within your heart. She's very heart-based. She asks, so in Twitter chats, they ask a handful of questions in an hour, and then the whole community uses the hashtag and answers those questions. She would respond to your answers. She would give feedback on your answers. She was very much involved. She really grew the community with this very heart-based community feeling. And so when she wanted to do this podcast, I mean, a lot of people stood up and said, well, wait a minute, I know someone who does a podcast. Maybe she could be on your podcast. So she got people to, hey, did you think of this place? Did you go here? And she literally did. So if you think about it, this podcast has this community, this podcast probably no relation whatsoever, two separate communities. But now she's in this one and she's in this one, and her name is being thrown around all before the book came out, while the book was coming out. And then she also did a private Facebook group where she asked online, hey, who wants to be a brand ambassador for me? I will give them a free book. You can read in advance, and XYZ bonus items I'll give you. And then, so she got 100 people to do this. I was one of them. And what was the result of all of this effort? Wall Street Journal bestseller. She did it. So really great way. It's not that she did it for free, but she did it in a way where she didn't spend $20,000 to buy her book a bestseller. Because a lot of the books that are bestsellers are people who go through going through a company that says, we get you on the bestseller list, and you pay to have that service and to get that book up there. Jon Acuff, I mentioned him earlier. I'll show you his book again. Can I do this? I don't know why there. Whoa, wait, whoa, there it is. So his book is Soundtracks. So his problem, he's a writer and a speaker. What happened in 2020? No speaking engagements, zero. In March of 2020, I'm sorry, you've lost all your income. I'm also having a book come out because, all that is done ahead of time. What the heck? How am I going to get? I've always brought my books to my speaking engagements, sold my books that way. How am I going to do this? Well, he spent a lot of time. Someone asked me this. I'll digress for a second. Like, oh, I really want your product to put in my house, and I want it for free because I'm going to have a YouTube show. I'm also going to put this up on Instagram, and I'm going to do Facebook. And my first question to this person was, I don't see it anywhere. Where is it? Oh, it's not there. I'm going to do that. You've already lost. So back to Jon Acuff. He worked social media hard for years. He knew this was where I had to be. And his Twitter account, I think he's close to 300,000 people on Twitter. And he spent a lot of time generating community there. So wait a minute. I also, he did it on Facebook and Instagram, because why put all your eggs in one basket? And now he's in a position where he doesn't have anybody to promote his book. I have people who love me. So he created this whole same situation. Who wants to put out a tweet? Who wants to help me promote my book? I'll give you these. I'll give you an advance copy. I will do this. I will do that. And his goal was to get 10,000 people to get an advance copy of his book. I don't know if I wasn't privy to the answer to that question, but I think he came pretty darn close. And so what he did is he used a community app. I think I mentioned that last time. It's community.com, but I think there are other apps that do the same thing, where you opt in to giving your cell phone number in order to be part of, I will text you information, get the inside scoop of things. He's used it. Gary Vee has used it. Dan Woke, I'm going to tell you about in a minute, has used it. really good way to, because people move, your emails change, your phone numbers usually don't. So I think that's a really wise way to go. And then he also announced having challenges on social media as well as in the app. Like, you're already part of my community. I'm going to do my next challenge coming in September. Do you want to be part of it? Opt in here. He also went live. He went live everywhere. And he talked about the fact that he missed being live on stage. That's his favorite place. So it was a way of connecting with his people, and he really got the community to talk about the book, and he got people to buy the book, and he did it over and over again. Buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. And he got to be on the bestseller list. So it was a super success for him. I really wonder what he will do, because he's a writer. He's going to write another book. Now he has data on what to do in a pandemic and what to do when he's not in a pandemic. I wonder how he's going to, which was more successful. I should ask him. I don't know the answer to that question. And then LA Times writer Dan Woke. So he's a writer. He writes for a major newspaper. And he also put out I think it was a tweet saying, hey, if you want to be part of my text community, I'm going to give you inside scoops about the Lakers. When I go to watch a game, I get there early. During the pandemic, he was able to be at Laker games when no one else was able to be there. He would share pictures of the court and everything. It was really interesting. And then he would invite people, hey, do you want to be on a live chat with me to talk about XYZ players? I truly only signed up for this because I was doing research, like, how is he going to use the community app, and how could my clients use the community app? And it was really successful. It was really cool and different how he used the app. He also used it for polls. He had asked questions like, who do you think is going to be named, I don't even know, in basketball, is it MPV or MVP? I don't know what it was. But and then they would talk about it. And he would write. He would also get input for his writing in the paper. So really effective way to use community to also get you more attached to the community. And I think that's my last slide. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to thank you, Lori Anding with South Bay Social Media. Thank you so much for doing this session with us again, and share with all of you that this will be posted along with our other two webinars. Our final webinar will be next Wednesday, and it is on sales with Terrence Payne from TMM Marketing.
Right.
Here is Lori's, go ahead, Lori. Did you want to say something about your project? No. Here's Lori's contact information, and also the contact information for the Long Beach Center for Economic Inclusion. And if you want to get in touch with us because you would like additional advisory services for your business, we can get you in touch with Lori. And also I see Mike Cano is on our session, and he also is one of our advisors with LBCEI, and these services are no cost to be able to give you some advice on moving your business forward. So thank you for joining us today. Everybody go out and grow your business, and you have a wonderful week. Thanks, Lori.
Thanks for coming.